Hey. So I just had to jump on here really fast because I'm sitting in my driveway in my car, and this is like my first day of like official re-entry from taking two trips back to back. So for those of you that are running your own organizations and you tend to travel a lot like me, then you know that reentry is like a real thing. It's not just some like term that you use for planes that are landing or but reentry in the world of Mary Kay, especially when you are traveling to different events, it's literally like a thing. Like it's a term that you use. And I used to be a hot mess with reentry. Like I used to come in and like my suitcase would be like all over the place, and I would like grab my roll-up bag. My bathroom would be like a hot mess for a good week and a half, and it was just really, really horrible because I would be stressed out, like, and then I wouldn't want to travel again because I was like, oh my gosh, every time I get back from a trip, my life is an absolute tornado. And I just didn't want to travel anymore. And so then I'm like, that can't be good. And so I kind of have figured out like some ways to make re-entry a little easier. So if you travel a lot like me and you love to travel and you love to go new places, then there needs to be some like process to your reentry. And although I do not have it like figured out, because Lord knows if I did, my life would be just awesome, but I'm a work in progress and that's okay. But I found that the very first thing I do when I get home, it's not just for my family's sake. It's not to like unpack and like worry about what I'm going to do the next day. But my first focus when I get home from a trip is actually to be with my family and to love on them. And so when I came home yesterday, it was really cool because my husband was out back grilling on the grill and my daughter was playing with the chicken in the yard. And it was just cool to come home and be like, okay, it's family time, because I haven't seen my family in 3 days because I've been in Chicago. And it's my time to like love on them. And so I just like didn't spew my guts about my trip on them unless they asked. Instead, I just asked about them, made it about them. And I know that when you do that, when you first come back in from a trip, then they don't mind so much when you're gone. But it's when you come back grumpy and tired and like all you want to do is either sleep or talk about your trip, then they're less likely to be encouraging of you traveling in the future. And so my first like part of being back is all about them. And then day one is like the next day you wake up, and this is where you have your official re-entry like tasks. And in order to figure out what those tasks are, you really need to make a brain dump. Brain dump is one of my most favorite things ever. And so I actually have a notebook that is specifically designed for just making brain dumps. And so I have this really cute brain dump notebook that I literally sit down and I unload all the crazy stuff floating around in my brain, from like laundry and like unpacking and, getting my office situated and what do I need to do? Like, who do I need to talk to? Blah, blah, blah. But like everything. Okay. And so thanks, Jennifer. I like my hair too. I was like, I need a crown today. So if you don't have a crown to wear every day, you can make a hair crown. This is my hair crown. Anyway, so I like dump everything on this piece of paper, and it can be flipping long, especially if you've been gone 2 trips back to back. Like that's a long brain dump list, because 9 times out of 10, the stuff that you normally do every day, like you haven't necessarily been. Sorry, I got a call. I got a call, guys. Hang tight. I think it's coming back. Hang on. Can you guys hear me? So sorry. I'm going to just keep talking. Maybe if I can tell that I got a phone call during a live video. Does that happen to you? I didn't know that was a thing. And then you're like, what do I do? Okay. Hey. Okay, good. So to make a long story short, I made this giant brain dump, and it was everything that was like bothering me about reentry. And after that, I just felt like, okay, now I can take that brain dump and I can figure out what's the most important thing that I need to do and what can I delegate. And honestly, you guys, I am in the transition of the century right now with assistants. Literally, like, I'm losing an assistant on May 1st, and I have hired 3 to take her place. And so, there's a lot of transitions anyway going on with delegation, but But delegating is most important of the brain dump, so you can move some of that stuff off your list and give it to somebody else. And then the rest you can prioritize, as in what needs to be done now because there's a deadline on it. And then what needs to be done because that's what keeps my business going, and that's what keeps our household running, and that's what like keeps the consistency of things that matter going. And then everything else if I need to do it, great. If I can't do it, then I figure out if it's really important and it needs to be done, or I just don't do it and don't worry about it. And so that's what I do with that list. And so I just wanted to encourage you with that. If you do travel a lot and you run your own organization and you're an entrepreneur with Mary Kay or any other company, and you're an entrepreneur and you literally, this is your life's work. You got to come up with a system for reentry so that you're not like blah, 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 all day long. Okay. So that's my advice to you, is spend time with family first so they appreciate you and they don't like get their panties in a wad when you go out of town. And then 2, get your brain dump done so you can delegate and figure out and prioritize what's most important on your big day of getting everything back together so you can have one productive week. Don't let a week go by where, my week was crazy because I had 2 trips in a row. It doesn't have to be like that. You can have a really productive week even when you've been traveling. And the great thing about this is when you have this system in place, then traveling won't be a burden. It'll actually be super fun. And people love to travel, but people who travel a lot tend to get burnt out. But you don't get burnt out as often as if you have a reentry plan. So that's my advice for today. Have a great day.